Hello, welcome back everyone. We are here for our second game in our first best of 2 for week 8. Dignitas QNTMPAY, rough game 1. Evil Geniuses Academy, looking hot after that game. That game was right out of that.
Yeah, love to see that development from EG, because again, it started off not great in the last split. They started to come into their own as they got into proving grounds, and they've really continued to build on that success as they've come through into this later part of this one. Because we talked about it during this. Somehow they pulled Pryo in mid lane, they pulled Pryo in top lane, they found fights when they wanted to. They pretty much accomplished anything and everything they could have asked for in the earlier stages. I know the one thing that they would have liked is maybe those kills going into Jojo Pyun to get his Magi's more stacked.
Fed Cow. It's a 100% win rate right now with Fed Cow.
That's fair. I will give you that. Mystiques is also somebody that you're more than happy to give gold to, but pretty much there was never really a good moment for the side of Dignitas to find strikes, because especially like in team fights where they're really designed to go after, the individual prey was where it really started to shine from the side of EG, where like their players were making individual outplays that were causing problems for Dignitas pretty much everywhere in every situation. So you got to give a ton of appreciation to them for that, knowing team fights are going to come through and being able to find their own advantages.
This is what I was waiting for. Then we had the fight in the bot lane that commenced afterwards. I was waiting for Team Luke. There was full vision. He knew that JJ was there, and that was the easiest snipe of his life.
Oh, I love that view. That camera view was gorgeous. And I know, who doesn't like that camera view? Unfortunately, it's JJ, because he got hunted down a couple of times here. If you're on the side of Dignitas coming into this one, they had very few moments of being able to actually stop anything that had come through from EG, and they need to be able to find some of those. I don't know if it's comfort. I don't know if it was a drafting issue. I'm not sure if it was just like an individual flexing here from the side of EG that really caused a bunch of the problems. But clearly there were quite a few issues from Dignitas that do need to be addressed for the likes of this game if they want a chance to take this game number 2. Hopefully the side swap helps with that at least a little bit to make sure that they can get themselves in a more comfortable position. Now you don't have to worry about Jojo Pyun getting counterpick or Tony Top getting counterpick. You can focus a lot more on making sure your lane's the ones with a bit more advantage to help out Will, make sure that Contracts isn't just bullying, make sure the lanes are there to support him.
Well, and that's where I was going to ask is, what might we want to see for Dignitas with the change in draft? Do they try to see if they can grab themselves the Viego and LeBlanc being on the red side? Do they, maybe we see the Viego still picked up by Evil Geniuses, so it's Gwen and LeBlanc, but then what do you want to be able to put into the jungle? The Lee Sin just didn't seem like it was able to accomplish enough early on into the game. The Galio seemed out of place as well. I just want to know what you think are the changes that need to happen here for Dignitas to be able to pull back this second game.
I think their team fighting idea is there, but you have to you either have to lean really heavily into a scaling composition that's going to wait for a while, because in that game it felt like they did need to strike early, or at minimum they needed to take objectives to force 5-on-5s for their scaling to fight with later. So they had to buy themselves time somehow, and taking dragons was that way. But they weren't able to win those early 5-on-5s because they didn't have the really good damage that they needed to, because Lee Sin was getting shut out of the game. So in this game, I think more damage for the likes of Will, be it Kindred, be it Rek'Sai, be it something like that, if they're going to go for some of the early aggression. Those are the champions that he's felt comfortable. He's one of the few players that has played the Rek'Sai here inside of Academy. And if that's the case, then you can go back to something team fighting or something scaling to try to give yourself attacking ways on top side, especially now with better lanes to work with. The alternative is you go for a lot more just like pure aggression out of both of your lanes, and you just attempt kill after kill after kill and attempt to chain that into shutting out these solo lanes from the side of EG, who have been so dominant, and then slowly close in on Contracts, close in on bottom lane, things like that. So either hyper aggression, or make sure you get something with even more damage out of the beginning of the game to play around specifically as like that tool to use to begin the game.
I mean, I'm kind of stuck on the Rek'Sai, I'll be honest.
I love
Because, I cast LPL. I've seen Shaco. I like weird picks. I like things that we don't see in the meta as much. So when you say something that, I'm sure you can argue Kindred, that they're not as meta either. But I want something spicy. I want something to liven up the mood here from Dignitas. Be it that Rek'Sai, be it something else. I mean, we know for at least Tony Top's sake that he loves that Jax pick, and we've seen it already banned away from him in Game 1. But I want to see these spicy picks from Dignitas. I want to see comfort for them to see if they can really take it back against Evil Genius.
I 100% agree. I think if it's not comfortable for Dignitas, you're not going to find wins. And again, to me, the importance of taking wins here is a lot less than making sure that you're going to have clear ways of playing your team out when it comes time for proving grounds and things like that. So if your identity is getting solidified and you're still losing, I'm comfortable. That last game was not a game where we saw a bunch of growth or we saw a bunch of clear identity. It was them going, hey, I think we're just going to take a team fight comp. We're going to try to play around Lee Sin to be in the game, and nothing worked. I'd like to see them with very clear, definitive rules of here's what the plan is going to be for the first 5-10 minutes of the game. If you've got that, then at least you can see that game plan being kind of like worked on, workshopped for the future.
And that's going to be the thing, isn't it? You gotta at least go into game 2 with that game plan in mind. And after a rough game like game 1, where they really did not have anything that they could really do from out of the gates, every single lane getting shoved in, you saw that Will, he was trying to see if he could do anything, but no matter what he wanted to be able to accomplish, there was always the threat that the enemy was going to be able to rotate first, which is in fact what happened almost every single time.
Actually, I'm going to come back to Rek'Sai only because Rek'Sai is good into Graves and good into Xin Zhao, and I think if you leave Xin Zhao, that's got to be the blue side first pick from the side of what will come through from the likes of EGA. Pretty sure also EGA selected blue side, which is really interesting to me, only because they have been a predominantly red side team. You saw how good they were. Maybe this is them saying, hey, we need practice on blue side. We need to work on what's going to happen over there. So this does give the opening for Dignitas to say, okay, if you pick the likes of Xin Zhao at B1, we have a response in Rek'Sai and Kindred, something like that.
Could be. That definitely could be what they want to be able to do, is get the practice, see that Dignitas, after that game 1 smacking that they just received, maybe seeing that this is the perfect time to do that, because you have to be prepared for playoffs, because playoffs do seed in to how proving grounds are going to go. Yeah, the better you do in the playoffs, the better you are able to have an easier time going into that. Of course, I will say this. Keep in mind that we did have a team that was the 2nd seed in the last Proving Grounds get knocked out immediately. So you never know. The seeding is not a guarantee of easy competition, because we've already seen that Amateur has a lot going on there. But that's not what's at play here. We have game number 2. Draft already started, and unfortunately, Kindred not to be seen.
Team Liquid definitely wants that game back, I can tell you. They don't want to be knocked out from Proving Grounds a second time.
I got game 1 over against 100 Thieves on the other stream, just so you guys all know. Make sure you go check that out. But that'll be for you all. I've spoiled it now. But here, the LeBlanc ban by Evil Geniuses themselves.
Interesting. I know Saliga would be able to pilot that one, but this indicates to me maybe a game plan of some kind, trying to prevent a LeBlanc from coming through. Maybe it's Dignitas. They understand from scrims that they prioritize it that highly, coming out from like Will and Lorlo and things like that. So maybe that's the intention here, but that is a little bit funky from the side of EG to ban that one out, especially after Jojo Pyun had such an amazing performance on it. I guess maybe they just don't have a response or something.
Maybe not, or maybe they want to grab that Xin Zhao immediately, because Xin Zhao was what they banned last time, but instead Dignitas reading the play and saying, no, you're not going to be able to get that. But now Jax, Diana, Jace, Aurelia, we have Rek'Sai, as you were talking about, all these champions still left open that can be played. Lee Sin, still up on the table. Ziggs is still there as well.
There's a lot of power here for the side of Dignitas, and Aurelia, to me, I think this screams Jojo Pyun a lot more than Tony Top. Not that I don't think Tony Top would be good at Aurelia. I think it'd be an amazing champion, but I don't think he plays that much Aurelia, if any Aurelia at all. So that's something to at least keep in the back of your mind here, that like EG, typically this Aurelia can be flexed between the solo lanes, but here I don't think it's as flexible as before. I'm sure Tony Top would be willing to take it. Okay, this is even more interesting because like Tony Top doesn't really play either of these champions all that often. So now he's going to be stepping out of his wheelhouse a little bit more.
Is this going to be Nidalee? Oh no, they grabbed the Ziggs. Okay, I was wondering. I'm like, do they grab the Nidalee here? I mean, they don't have to, because if you're forced to ban now Nidalee away from contracts, that is making it so that you're burning essentially one of your bans in the second rotation, making it a lot easier for Evil Geniuses to play around this composition that they have drafted for themselves, because I expect that Renekton to be topside. I expect that Aurelia to be mid lane. Jojo Pyun played that last week. We've seen the Rek'Sai top lane before. I mean, sure, we've seen the Rek'Sai, the Renekton mid lane as well, but this is what I'm expecting, just as you said. Not sure where that Aurelia is, if it's going to be something that Tony Top will be comfortable playing with the changes, especially because what got added onto the W, the magic resist to be able to survive against something like a Rhyme.
That it did. It is interesting though. The thing is, like, between these two champions, he's had exactly one game. I do like, of course, that Dignitas is gone, and they said, okay, we see that it's going to be one of these two melee champions. Rise is going into either one of them. It's likely going into the hands of Saligo either way, because Saligo is kind of the Rise player, if I recall, from back when he really played on like 100 Thieves, and also on Dignitas's main roster, was very good at the likes of the Rise. I also want to note, many people consider Kalista to be kind of a counterpick into the likes of the Ziggs, like people are opting into that matchup, but it's EG who opt into the opposing matchup. I know this is a lot more skill intensive than it looks from both sides. It's not easy for Kalista and it's not easy for Ziggs. So it's Team Luke saying he is comfortable on the Ziggs. He was great on it last game. So even when he's facing down the Kalista, which is seen as a good champion into it, he's perfectly fine taking this one.
So we have Diana and we have Alistar banned away, which screams to me that the last two picks for Evil Geniuses will be Nidalee and Rel. Just with what we've already gotten drafted so far, it seems like that will just complete the puzzle pieces there, make it so we can see the full picture. While on Evil Geniuses' side, they have it doubled up on the top lane bans, and one of them being Gnar, which immediately makes me think Renekton is in fact top lane.
Interesting. And now, again, he's had exactly one champion play between those two, and it was Renekton, which was a loss, which isn't exactly boding well for that particular regard, but it's perfectly fine. And now we get Mundo stepping in here as likely the top laner.
I was to say, is it the top laner, or is it the support? We have seen Mundo played support, sure, normally with Senna, but it is something we have seen quite often recently for this Academy split, especially in the last couple of weeks.
I think in this play, this is going to be a laner, mostly because both of the melees that have been selected are really prone to being kind of abused by the likes of this comet spam and Qs and things slowing down champions. They're both susceptible to that, and neither one of them is particularly good at burning through a very bulky target. They're better at taking down a little bit squishier targets, even with high resistances. They're better at it, so that is at least something to consider. I like your call of the Nidalee, of course. That contract is opted for
only
here.
50%. I didn't get the Rel. I was glad it was going to be Rel. The Nautilus, it also works too, but I just thought the Wombo combo, then the Bomb, the Magnet Storm, I'm just thinking of all these big plays. But the Nautilus also does make sense. The non-committal engage you can get with the depth charge, as well on the other side, non-committal engage you can get with Leona. Lorlo piloting the Mundo. Would have loved to have seen a Mundo with Kalista bot lane. Would have been just spicy to see. But going for something a little bit easier, it is a far more sack top lane, just trying to farm out with Qs and not really ever trying to fight against Tony Top. But at the same time, it is Mundo, and he goes where he pleased.
That he does. This is a bunch more control here from Dignitas on their bottom side, and a lot less control on top side, because it's a bit more scaling out of mid lane, and it's a bit more kind of just lane stall out of the likes of the Mundo on the top side, which allows Will to aggress into top side, because both of these should be lanes that he can try to find aggression for, but it also opens up Spawn and JJ to make effects on the map a bit more than previous. So typically we're seeing Spawn and JJ are the ones playing the weak side, and the opposite side of the map is where the aggression comes through, and what we're seeing otherwise in this particular game is the exact opposite foot coming out. So Dignitas trying something new, trying something a little bit different in an attempt to get some advantage in these solo lanes by using their bot lane a bit more. And I think that is, I can appreciate at least that they're trying something else, because again, I think them trying to find what works for themselves is far more important than trying to take wins in this series. And if this is something, I think it looks a lot better than what they had in the previous game, given the way the last game went as well.
It does give them something, but it still means that now with the strong bot lane, they have the weak top lane. And you look at what Evil Geniuses have drafted topside. Renekton, Nidalee, Aurelia. Two of those champions, classic duo, and being able to fight early, look for these dives. And then you toss in an Aurelia, too, with the change that she received recently to be a lot easier into a lot of these AP matchups. As well, if you get an Aurelia fed, doesn't matter. New Aurelia, old Aurelia, she's going to be able to carry. So we load up into the game, and Dignitas, thank you! They are looking for something spicy.
Yeah, the preparation here, I like quite a bit of what I'm seeing from EG's composition as well. My one fear is, again, it's really hard to bring down Mundo with this team, so I would like to see them at least try to make sure. Well played.
It upsets me because I just want to see a level 1 fight work, but that was so smart from Team Luke, I can't be mad at him.
Yeah.
It's it's a double-edged sword for me. I want to be mad at you, Team Luke. That was really good, because I want the level 1 fight.
There's so much danger nowadays in the bottom side that I've seen a ton of teams expend wards on sometimes Trap Rush and also towards the middle of the map near where the Pixel Brush comes in. And they had done that actually in this one just to make sure they would have the ability to know when an approach is coming That safety is absolutely necessary because some of these comps are very mean to begin with, and pulling that initial play off is enough to shut down contracts to begin with. So I like defense coming out for their jungler, making sure to come through from EG, and also getting that response ward on the other side to make sure that the red buff's being tracked to know when Will is going to show up, at least on top side, whether he's going to cut through camps or whether he's going to go full blue side clear direct to red, is going to give enough information for these solo lanes to at least have that information going to know what to do with their wave at some point. So I can give them a ton of props for a bunch of support to make sure that these powerful lanes that have been drafted specifically to thwart EG are at least a little bit further behind because of this initial vision.
Japan, though, he is looking to fight against the Ligo here in this mid lane. It is a brawl between both of them, but not the corrupting pot. Instead, just going for the Doran's Blade with the regular old health potion. Getting level 2 is nice to be able to force out Saligo, and look at that. Junking him out with that W. This lane not looking so pretty for Saligo.
Not at all. At least not to begin with. He did hit level 2. It's not going to be too bad. He started Mana Crystal, yes, which is a bit interesting because you can start tier at any point, although it's not particularly hard to stack tier on the likes of the Rise. So I'm curious what the Mana Crystal's for, more so than just the pure AP value that you get for it because of the mana conversion onto the abilities of Rise, because this is how you used to build him when you had to build into the likes of the tier, but I don't know what the intention is anymore.
Back in my day when we had Rod of Ages in the game.
Rod of Ages.
I remember stacking Rod of Ages, all 6 of them. That was a lot of fun, especially with Frank Mid, just so everyone knows. Please bring it back, right? Anyways, getting into this one, we see Will getting invaded right now by Contracts. A trade of blows, but right now Will is the one winning. It's going to be the smite fight to be able to secure that, at least for Will. He had to flash away to be able to survive. Blastcone as well will make sure he retains both his buffs.
He will. Funny enough. It was an initial engage that came through from Contracts, I think, with the support that could have come through from Jojo Pion, but somehow Saligo was able to kind of cancel that.
Contracts, you need to leave this. Yeah, this is. Why are you still here? Looking to hop. Oh, he flashed over the wall.
Wow.
The Q did not connect. That Q connect. Contract did.
And now he can't even do much because Saligo was able to push back out the wave that was shoved initially by Jojo Pion, and that's going to commit to top scuttle. And then the thing is I think right here Will actually wants to walk into top side before doing anything else. Ooh, there's a play on bottom side as well.
And they're going to be able to get the exhaust already out of Mystique. So Mystique's now no flash, no exhaust either. Easy target early on into this game.
Very good read from Will. He steps into this jungle to figure out how many camps are currently missing from Contracts.
He's going to be able to kill him.
Okay, he finds
easily. No flash. He goes for the dash away. Doesn't hit the Q. If that connects, it's an easy death, but Will still has the chase. Looking to see if he can get any further, but he was afraid because Jojo Pion had just TP back into the mid lane and be able to look for the solo kill against Saligo. The flash away to be able to survive. But now Jojo Pion, you're on the wrong side of the fight, trying to be able to escape. Will is looking to hunt you down with JJ in tow. They've got Contracts nearby, but he's pretty low. Here's Mystiques to show up. Saligo cannot enter the fight, so nobody dies between both sides.
This is a situation that actually ends up being won by Jojo Pion in a very significant fashion, beyond just not dying here and not burning the flash either, because this was horrid for Contracts, this situation. Because Will walked in and found him on the blue buff, dropped his health, and Contracts had to choose between trying to run down and contest against the bot scuttle that could have come through, or just going into topside and then continuing the clear, which would have had to be the case almost certainly. But Will got kind of slogged down with this play that came through from Jojo Pion enough time that bottom scuttle was ending up being taken. It denied Will a little bit more of the counter jungling and saved Contracts the time of being able to heal up and let him go back into the clearing pattern. Yes, he doesn't catch up to Will for the most part, as Lee Sin's able to take away at least another camp to come through, but that whole situation could have been a lot more disastrous. But thanks to Jojo Pion's fight forcing out multiple movements into the mid lane, it stalled everything enough to give some breathing space to his jungler.
Exactly. That's pretty much what wins it all there. Is Jojo Pion playing so aggressively on this Aurelia, and this is why I was saying that Aurelia is a scary champion, especially with how she's changed. A lot easier to fight into these mages. Unlike before when she struggled after losing the magic resist on W, having gained it back makes these fights so much easier for Jojo Pion.
It does. I'm liking what I see too. There's a lot of players who are picking up Aurelia now after the changes and such because of how powerful that she is. And some of them are good Aurelia players, but there's also your great Aurelia players that are just incredible and they make the champion look insane. Really unfortunate.
Jojopion right here.
He reset his
Level
Q?
6. Vanguard's Edge is up. They're going to be able to get their first blood easily for Contracts. And now, look who's here. Lorlo. He might have that passive still up. He might be Mundo. But Mundo, you got to be careful. They did not use too much to be able to pick up that kill. And now they got the Slice and Dice trying to be able to survive with the Sadism, but just could not do it.
Extremely well played. We're able to find a couple of plays now into top side to chase down Will One Thing as the likes of the Nidalee to get the initial engagements always preferential. I thought that it had been thrown because Jojopion didn't get a reset on his Q off the back of a Krug kill, and I thought they weren't going to be able to get him after that, but instead enough damage comes from far enough away. They're able to get it. The top dive is able to be enough damage because Lorlo is able to resist against the one stun that they have, but they've got the damage for it one way or another, so they're able to set up top side with this Nidalee Renekton, shut out the Lee Sin at least a little bit more, and find a couple of kills into the important top side of the map that Dignitas put so many resources in the draft into making sure they would have the ability to play against.
That's an aggressive
He's still
route
here
warp right there, Saligo. Why did you go for that, buddy? That was terrible.
Oh my goodness. I guess the intention is like they think, okay, topside was just played against by the likes of Contracts and by the likes of Jojopion. And so they were trying to time this Rise Realm Warp to make sure they could create a dive underneath the tower. But they didn't realize that the cover was already there from Jojopion after backing from that topside dive because he was there immediately. Now even Will under some really legitimate threat. And he doesn't lose the Scuttle Crab battle right there because there's more resources. Jojopion's not going to jump in. But still, the cover right there off that back coming in from the Aurelia is all that was necessary. I can't speak highly enough so far of Jojopion's play, covering for his entire team in a number of situations.
Right here, just looking at the replay, Jojopion is insane on this Aurelia. We both can agree.
100%, yeah. This was, that would have been nice to give it to the Aurelia, but I get that Nidalee having it is a lot more valuable, I think, at the beginning of the game, especially to keep Contracts in. And then the play against Lorlo, again, the 1 CC move missing is painful, but thankfully Tony Top's able to heal enough to not have to worry about it too heavily. And that's what prompted that bottom side play, because there were 3 members committed to top. They didn't think the reset would come through fast enough, but unfortunately they haven't actually watched or seen Joshi's timings on how long it takes to get certain places on the map, because if they had, maybe they wouldn't have been able to make that realm warp happen.
Oh, and JJ, he's trying to engage. You're trying to fight, but Will's already realizing that this is all null and void. You tried to be able to dive back in, but you weren't able to get the kill on the Contract. He's burning. The burn was able to pick it up with the red buff helping up. Now that you've got everyone rotated here with the Vanguard's Edge onto JJ, the double kill coming in from Jojopion, and with Lorlo here, with Saligo here as well, they're just starting to feed him. They're giving all the kills, all this gold over to both the solo laners.
Yeah, making sure to just continue to express their will into this top side so far. As Dignitas, again, with the Rise, you're expecting to be able to scale up into melee champions and bring them down on their way into fights. You don't have to worry too much. Usually you're going to out wave clear. Top lane with the Mundo is more of a stalling lane. Sometimes can put a bunch of pressure into the likes of Renekton. But for the most part, this pure aggression coming out from EG, constantly living into Will, constantly playing into the opposing jungler, shutting him out from making plays or getting a bunch of gold, is working well because it's slowing down the pacing here from Dignitas and it's keeping themselves getting gold in a bunch of the right places on the side of EG. I'm loving this aggression that's coming out. I'm loving this like kind of a macro like understanding of where everybody is going to be. Tracking Will has been huge for Contracts throughout this game specifically, and Dignitas find themselves at yet another early game deficit.
Yeah, that they do. It almost seemed like it was going to be nice for them. Will was able to get these early little bits of pressure over Contracts, but it's all crumbled away. Right here, you can see this fight. It's just a nice invade from Evil Geniuses.
Into pure blindness. They just like run down Will as fast as possible to try to find a fight. I like that Jojopion finds this and Contracts does eventually take down. But then the fight afterwards is like, okay, you've got Rise and you've got like a Mundo with plenty of frontline, but JJ goes in a little too early for Lorlo to really access the fight. I also like the targeting from Mystiques, who was able to find Saligo on the side and buys the time for Jojopion to re-enter because the health bars were getting low here. It got a little bit risky because Saligo could potentially clutch and pull a couple of kills, and this game suddenly looks really rough. But fortunately, it's not going to be the case as Team Loop got his flash forced by JJ. For this bottom lane that should be like kind of pushing from Spawn and JJ to make effects on the map, they have been relatively passive for the majority of this game.
Seems like they're just struggling to be able to stick on top of Team Luke, who's played so safe. Like, having to burn the flash is a pretty big deal. That is a good play. But here we go. We got to kind of rewind the clock once more and just see that.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Really?
So they got it with... Wait, what? Really? Contracts got it.
He left at 500. Yeah, Contracts smited it. I don't think Will actually...
Oh.
He didn't
I thought,
get it.
no, I thought Saligo got it with the Q. I thought he was able to barely get the damage off on it, but no, like you said, it was a smite from Contracts.
That's incredible to think about. It just took the one little challenge coming out from Contracts. A spear took about half the health off of Lee Sin, and that cost them the ability to challenge for the Rift Herald or anything like that, despite the fact that the health was down to 500. It only needed a smite from Will to really be there, but immediately had to leave out of fear that the pounce was going to come through and he was going to die before even being able to pick it up yet again. So now Rift Herald in the pocket of Contracts. He's going to put it up towards Tony Top, the Nidalee Renekton connecting yet again.
Looking to see if they can have this powerful duo make it so they can take down a tower early on. They want to be able to force out Lorlo, knowing that it is a weaker top lane, well, weaker into it, just the 1v1 matchup, not really always going to have that kill threat, but still, it's not looking too terrible for Dignitas as opposed to the bot lane, where they're getting this TP coming in from Jojopion, looking to see if they can get on top of spawn. And Six, they already flashed over the wall. Not going to be able to look for the Dredge line just yet. Not with the blast cone right there. He's trying to fish him out of the wall. Was able to get the depth charge, the flash over the well from Spawn to be able to survive. Here's the Mega Inferno Bomb to get a little bit of damage onto Spawn, but not enough. With JJ running the other way, he has flash. He should be able to dash.
Oh my
He's got locked down by Mystique, and they got the lockdown from Jojo on the flash a bit late, but he does survive.
He thinks he can get around the corner, and just barely Mystiques is able to find the hook just around the side of that wall, which is what ends up forcing the flash coming out from the likes of JJ's. Rift Herald is going to get dropped to make sure they get some towers.
JJ's going to get dropped too. He's just dead. There's the turret too. The turnaround onto Soligo. They decide instead that they're going to take their cash in, back off, get another charge for Jojopion, and force Will out of his own jungle.
This is so tough to deal with, because again, Soligo's right next to where Will is at, but he can't do anything to support this, like Raptor attempted steal or anything like that, so it's just going to be another camp pilfered away from the likes of the Lee Sin to begin with. Now Will wants a fight.
Well, do you want this fight? You might have Mundo nearby to kick back in on top of it with the Anathema's change to be able to get a little bit more of that cooldown reduction to tenacity, but Jojopion nearly got the kill, not going to be able to get the stun in time. He's shut down by Lorlo.
Will does survive. Oh, goodness.
Spawn's not going to survive. Or is he? Or is he? The Rend, the kite, not there. Contract shuts him down.
Yeah, I was going to say, so far in this game, you would expect the Kalista and the Leona to have a lot more of an impact, but they really have not accomplished pretty much anything whatsoever throughout this game. They're sitting down there yet again on the likes of like a much more aggressive duo and not finding themselves any fights around neutral objectives. We're actually 13 minutes in without a dragon even having been attempted, and that feels like Dignitas just like not understanding that they can push for what will be eventually a Kalista taking into the likes of the river. They just continue to get fought. They're continuing to get pushed. They're continuing to get tracked around. Will isn't able to accomplish anything, and slowly this game is bled into EG's favor without a single objective going down.
It might be a different composition mostly for Dignitas, but it feels like the exact same result. That they should be able to get these plays. They have the Lee Sin. They have this powerful bot lane as opposed to last time. They're just not able to get things, and you can take a look at this replay. It's pretty much, it looked nice from Spawn at first. It almost seemed like he was going to be able to kite in, but I think that last jump in cost his death.
Yeah, Contracts I don't think was ever really super worried, especially after the Ren didn't really kill. I think it was more than acceptable that the Nidalee would be able to run out, especially because Primal Surge was probably just about to come up as well, so it would have been another 100, 200 health, so probably an auto attack or two that would have been saved off the back of that play. So it's good from Contracts. He's got more than enough gold. He's got Night Harvester finished, so they're ready to go pretty much anytime, whenever.
Those
we got
fancy
aggression,
feet
finally.
from Team Luke. There's so much use to try to kill the Ziggs. Mega Inferno Bomb are going to get a lot of damage, but now they've used so much to try to commit for this, trying to see if they can take down and get 2 kills. The bot lane is gone. There's a wraparound committed. They're trying to see if they can at least have the flank in from Contract. Jojopion is nearly here. He will be spotted out on that vision. Tony Top's already used the dominance. Doesn't want to go in just yet, but Contract, you're a little far, bud. Going to be able to dodge away from the cube. Looking for his Q himself onto Will. Chunking out Dignitas. 3v5. Evil geniuses are chasing away Dignitas. They don't want to fight against Jojopion or Contracts.
No, they do not. They've lost mid-inner tower, too, so there's waves being currently crashed into that mid-tower that are not going to be responded to. This would have been a moment, I think, that EG could have looked to try to set up a dragon, and they might actually do so just immediately off the back of this play, where finally Dignitas finds some aggression that are able to get them some kills. That is at least one positive thing to take away from this situation, but the fact that they can't convert it is miserable, as Contracts should be able to sneak away from the Rise after this combo comes through. Okay.
Maybe not. Look at the damage coming in. They got Will here, the kick. Oh, but the
wow.
satchel charge! Nicely done from Team Luke.
call him support Ziggs for that satchel charge, being able to peel off a Lee Sin. It's very rare that an ADC is able to accomplish anything like that, but nothing but props there for Team Luke, who's had a couple of really solid satchel charges, really leaning into the effect of the Ziggs that you have across the map. Again, Dignitas had a couple of kills. They could have tried to convert it into a dragon or force a fight from the side of EG, but instead of doing so, they back completely off. They try to chase out Contracts as soon as he sieges up in mid lane, and they're not able to actually accomplish anything. I thought Contracts was throwing slightly when he jumped backwards into the mid lane, like directly into the path of where the Rise was, giving him more chances for the combo, but the rest of his team was there. Cavalier was ready.
And the rest of the team is here as well. There's going to be the flash away. The depth charge double knockup leaves JJ out to dry. So Team Luke can get his third kill of the game while Dignitas watch on in horror, knowing there's nothing they can do about this bot lane.
Consistently, this is just winning every single fight. Every aggressive play that comes out from EG, it works out in their favor. The aggressive plays from Dignitas are so few and far between. It feels like they're just bleeding out gold. Now sitting at a 6,000 gold deficit. Towers have gone down in multiple positions across the map. Rift Herald's available. First Dragon went over to EG. While that might end up slogging down this game at least a little bit, the gold advantage alone, especially with like the Aurelia and the Ziggs and the Nidalee for damage into the later portions of this mid game, is really going to lay it on thick to the likes of Saligo on this Rise, who's only on the one completed item. Spawn is only on Wit's End at this point. The Sin is way too far behind. It's looking very dire once again from the side of Dignitas.
It is, and especially against this team. Evil Geniuses are a team that know how to close out victories consistently. When they are ahead at 15, they have an 83% win rate. They're consistent at making sure they bully their opponents, they take these advantages, and they can end the game quickly. In fact, having the fastest average game time in the entire academy. Jojo Pion, he's getting chased down by Will, but Will does not want that fight.
And there's still 2 members in the mid lane. There's 4 right now down here. There's nobody there except for
come
Mundo
on,
to try
not
to stop
again.
this, and Team Luke is just going to be going for the likes of the tower. I don't think he can quite get it knocked down, but he is going to take off at least a permanent third, as Jojo Pion did not leave.
He did not leave, and now he is dead for it. He was able to at least get the attention of 3 members of Dignitas, so his team can look for another play. It almost seems reminiscent of what we saw last time, where it was the trade of top laner for top laner. Here, it's looking top laner for mid laner, with the flash coming in from Lorlo to be able to survive. The turret is probably going to be taken easily by Team Luke.
Nice little play for Mystiques, because they kind of rotate out of mid lane where Mundo's just clearing the wave away. They know they can't really do much because Team Luke isn't able to siege quite hard enough quite yet on the likes, because there's not enough AP on the Ziggs for the autos to like shred towers, nothing like that yet. So the W is pretty much what they have to rely on, and they weren't going to be able to cook it down to there. So they move into top side as, again, TP for Jojo Pion yet again.
He's back. They landed the spear. Oh, and look behind. It's going to be Team Luke joining in as well. JJ stunned up. Will jumping back in, but where's the Vanguard's head to be able to get 2 members locked in? The Solar Flare not going to be able to connect. They're looking to see if they can get the kill on the Spawn. He's still alive on the other side of the fight, but they got the killing spree for Contracts. Now they can jump in. Spawn, Will, trying to be able to dodge away from all the skill shots coming in from Evil Genius, diving back in, but he's dead immediately, and Spawn, he's going to be taken out as well. Double kill for Contract.
Very well played coming out from the side of EG. They're patient. They find their play in top side on the other side, pulling that top inner tower across all other things. And then they say, we can attack the other side with double TP. They move in Jojo Pion out of the base. They move in Team Luke, and they've got more than enough damage, more than enough range to make sure that Spawn, JJ don't have the ability. Will can't step in because he loses half his health bar to begin the fight. And all of a sudden, this game is looking even worse by the second for the side of Dignitas, as now you got like 5 kills and a farm advantage coming out for Contracts. You've got advantage coming out of the bot lane in spades right now. The Zig's already on a couple of completed items, getting ready to go for even more. There's not really much space here for Dignitas to work with in terms of their team composition. They were designed around scaling for Rise to carry themselves through fight, and the rest of their team is supposed to be engaged, but I mean, what are you supposed to do there?
Oh my god, that is awful for Saligo there. Now Will, he's getting chased out too, knowing that they cannot fight against Contract. Is 5-1-6 on this Nidalee. 4 full stacks on the Dark Seal. Has not upgraded it to that Magi's just yet, but honestly, I don't even know if you need to. You can see how much damage each one of these spears is doing once it connects onto the members.
Oh my!
Spawn takes it to the face, jumped on easily by Contract, but he's still alive. Looking to be able to get away. They're going to be able to get the shutdown on the Contract. Now it's going to look like a bad fight with the Mega Inferno Bomb. Not going to get the kill, but the Comet doing it. They were able to get the kill in the backline, but Dignitas are still trying to fight this out. 3 versus 4. They knew they couldn't fight it last time when it was 3v5, so they bail once more.
Right there, Contract's able to find a couple of good spears to put in damage, but gets a little bit antsy. Can't quite find the assassination onto the likes of Spawn, as he is saved by the hair of the Wit's End magic resist, being able to keep him just barely above dying. And from that little bit of health, they're able to push too far into this one. That cost Tony Top and Contracts their lives. And while, yes, they do end up trading one back, it is a positive play for Dignitas off the back of the aggression coming out from the jungler here of EG. Doesn't cost too much. In fact, I actually really like the play, because again, if you kill Spawn, there is nothing to be done on the side of Dignitas to win that fight, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. This game is slowing down partially. I think EG not having some of the first dragons in the game are going to cost them to go another 5 to 10 minutes just off the back of these dragons alone, waiting for that soul point to come through. But they do still have this incredibly definitive advantage. It's going to take quite a bit to break that fact for the side of Dignitas here.
Here we go. We got to see the replay. I'm keeping my eye on Spawn. Poor Spawn. He gets killed by the comet right here.
Yes, he does. And Leandry's was ticking too, so like you have to consider that was going to come out as well. As in this mid-range, like you could see Will and JJ both took spears from the Nidalee, and that's why their health bars were so low. There wasn't much for them to kind of do in these fights. Yet still, the rest of EG was a little bit hesitant to try to take a fight, only because they knew they don't want to throw in this jungle, potentially give over a bunch of like shutdown gold and free resources to the side of Dignitas to give them a chance to come back in. So instead, they cut their losses right at Contracts and Tony Top. They say, we got one, they got two, that's fine. We end up taking a losing play. We'll be able to come back without much of a difference in gold a little bit later.
Get this pick on a Contract again. That could be big, but he is going to be able to survive with the help of that Blast Cone. Now that the Blast Cone's gone, a way into the pit is denied for Dignitas. It could have been at least the Thane of the start for Evil Geniuses, but right now, they're holding off for the moment.
I think... Oh, actually, Jojo Pen's in a little bit of danger.
Oh, yes, he is, but here's the TP, and he's still alive for quite some time. Vanguard's Edge looking to be able to get a huge shield and a lot of damage onto the members of Dignitas. They're going to be able to easily dive. The Realm Warp trying to keep him alive, but they got the root that they needed to make sure there's no escape. Spawn is easily taken out of the fight. Double kill for the Croc Man himself, Will and Lorlo. They can't fight that. Jojo Pune might be dead, but it was a bait. They were able to take 3.
They were trying to find Contracts on an initial play, and then Will immediately commits into Jojo Pion, who stalls enough time with the W and the Gore Drinker sustain to actually get his team in position for like a massive Mega Inferno Bomb and the rest of the team to follow up for a number of kills. Now you've got Lorlo and Will. Will's getting bodied out of the pit by Mystiques right now. They're trying to close this one out. They don't have the best consistent damage at the moment, at least. And this is kind of painful for Mystiques, who might just get run down by Lorlo right now.
Had to take his shield. The Titan's Wrath to keep him alive. Will's on the other side. He wants to make the hero play. Look how low some of these members are on Evil Geniuses. The TP now channeled. Soligo going to be able to join. Will is fighting with Contracts on the other side to make sure he can't get in the pit. And it's a trade of the ADC for Mundo. And Dignitas were able to deny the Baron and even get the double kill for Soligo.
That they do. It's like EG is
come on, not
they
you
know
two.
They can't quite finish. Okay.
Come on. There we go. I was going to say... Try to force them off and then get the Baron. Thank you, Dignitas.
Okay.
They're able to get rid of them. Now you can secure this. You got Spawn in the pit. Easy Baron.
Look at that. Like I said, the consistent damage isn't there when you don't have the likes of the Aurelia, and Aurelia was the only one to go down here from EG. So while Dignitas wasn't in a great position to just like pure take on a fight before their respawns came through, Will was enough to threaten with the smite that they had to be cautious. They had to know exactly where he was, and then they play the initial front line, and all the damage put on a Mystiques by the likes of Lorlo bought a ridiculous amount of space to work with here for Dignitas to challenge EG in that pit, and it does cost EG a fair amount because they lose the Baron, they lose a little bit of this gold advantage that they've been gaining, all off the back of 2 heroic players coming out with Will and Lorlo accomplishing quite a bit right here. Pulling Contracts out, they weren't able to full commit to the Baron, so Contracts ends up going over the wall to find Will, but then he's too far in the back line, can't really access the damage, and no one's there to remain on the Baron, so it resets. So the whole play that was set up by EG to try to pull this Baron ends up going completely awry, and they lose more gold off the back of this one, and the Baron buff, because there was consistent damage with Will, with Soligo, to take this neutral objective.
Now Mystique's getting caught out pretty far away from his teammates. Going to use the depth charge, but now look at how much damage he takes. Barely alive. The heal, too, coming in to make sure that he's going to survive Contracts.
Oh, my
God. Not today. Not today.
That's not only props to Team Luke for using the Satchel Charge defensively to heal for somebody yet again. That Primal Surge also healed for like 400, 500 health, which is a little bit ridiculous at this point in the game. But props to them being able to play out their best impression of saving Private Mystiques right there across the way. As so far, Dignitas has been able to actually stay relatively relevant in this mid game. They've got the engagement from the likes of Callista. They're picking up towers now with the likes of the Baron buff. The fight is super definitive so far.
Engage on a contract. Okay, here's the pull back in for JJ. They got the root on to Jojo Pion. Now JJ has to go golden to be able to survive. Lorlo, he doesn't have enough health stats to be able to help out JJ. Trying to see if they can dive in. They're going to be able to get the Q kills immediately and then dive into the backline. Saligo trying to be able to cut it back to be able to survive with the flash coming in from Tony Top to be able to get the root and to get the stun and double kill coming in from Jojo Pion with only Saligo now surviving the flash to make sure that he's getting a little bit of distance from that mid laner. But this is a huge fight for Evil Geniuses. They can now march it down mid.
And you're seeing, like, Dignitas set this up so that Rise could try to play a front-to-back team fight, and, like, Callista ends up being an initiator, can then kind of rend down people that are in the right position. But when you lose members that are important at the beginning of the fight, like Will for something like the Dragon's Kick, you lose Spawn in the midst of the fight. JJ also is one of those peeling, one of those CC bots. There's nothing to be had. There's no ability for Steligo to actually step up and do the damage, even if he had it. So this is probably just going to be EG closing the game.
Oh, they're trying to right now, but the members are starting to respawn. They gotta kill the Nexus, and they do. 2-0, breaking the curse. Evil Geniuses will make sure they are getting that much closer to securing their playoff spot.
Not the cleanest game number 2, not comparative to game number 1, but still, I am impressed with the fact that they've taken now what is effectively, I think, only 4th 2-0 in the entire split. They've had 9 1-1s. They're 4th 2-0 today. Proud of them for being able to accomplish that fact. The team's developing extremely well. Dignitas, that mid game looked better than I think a lot of the mid games we've seen for the remainder of the split. I will give you at least that. Yes, you lost that fight because you were down enough gold to EG. But if you can iron out an early game plan to try to make sure that your mid lane, your top lane are working, that game plan right there looked like something you could at least build on. I'll give those props over to the side of Dignitas. But otherwise, it's all cheers today for the side of EG.
And I completely agree with you. You gotta take a look at this in the early game, especially from Evil Geniuses, where it seemed like Will might have been able to bully out contracts early on, but then they forgot that Jojo Pion had been dominating in that mid lane.
Yeah, when you've got like setup like this from the side of EG, where your lanes aren't in perfect states to do a bunch, this is a really cool way that they've like kind of initiated into pulling multiple person fights by saying, okay, we're just going to walk into your jungle and you have the option to challenge us or lose your jungle, and that's your options. And those aren't good options from the side of Dignitas, so they fall victim to it. It is a handful of kind of individual plays eventually that come through from the side of Dignitas that keep them really involved inside of this game. While yes, there's a number of times that Dignitas ends up going down. This is one of them. A few other fights kind of go against them. But they were able to find their own picks, generate their own advantage in a few situations, like this Baron, where you're able to find some places all across the map that they're getting gold back, which is, again, it touts to the strength of the late mid-game composition, the fact that they can play in some of these situations. But when it came to putting all 5 members together in the team fight, when this gold advantage is there, EG just had way too much for them to deal with.
Yeah, and even there, right here, I think it's going to be the play where we saw that Dignitas had a little bit left, and when you look at their composition, they have great scaling options. You have a Rise, you have a Mundo for the front line. Callista, kind of iffy, not necessarily the best as it scales up, but at this point into the game, it's one of her strongest points. So it seemed like they might have been able to claw back that victory had it just been a couple of fights not going so badly in the early stages of the game.
It's a difficulty here from the side of Dignitas, because yeah, you end up pulling this Baron, you're still down a fair amount of gold to actually work with, and you can't set up this fight until Rise is really powerful enough to actually begin carrying you through in the front-to-back situation. This is where there's like things start off. You can see Saligo got shoved out 2-3 times when he tried to initiate into the front of this to start throwing out the damage that was necessary, and by the time he was able to actually start putting damage into the front line, it didn't matter because 4 members of his team were already brought down, and that's why he was forced out. So the consistent carry that was designed for Dignitas was never really able to set up in the proper position to do the carrying, and never really had the gold necessary to do so either. Great quick attacks from EG to make sure they couldn't take advantage of their lanes, they couldn't set up for their later game scaling, and they found that kind of window and able to close things out despite some of the hiccups.
And I gotta say, for the side of Evil Geniuses, while we were so focused on the top half of the map, Team Luke on that stakes, both games, those satchel charges, I cannot stop thinking about those because those were absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Team Luca is getting, I think, better by the week at the likes of this Ziggs. Because when it first came out, obviously everybody was playing it, but he's made it his own champion at this point. Where it feels like the Tristana was just a split ago, where that was kind of like the Team Luke like pinnacle champion, the thing that he played more than anybody else. Now it feels like the Ziggs is really starting to become his own. It's something that teams will have to consider to ban, given just how talented he looked on the Ziggs, with not only like the bombs and being able to put out DPS, but the satchel charges for things like peeling off his own teammates being used proper or using those properly was really impressive to me during the course of the series. Everybody had their moments, but like you said, that Ziggs across both games was one of the highest performing I think I've seen in a good amount of time inside of Academy.
I honestly, it was awesome to see how they were able to play with that one. And if I could give MVPs in this, I almost think I would give it to Team Luke. Even though he was like the unsung hero, he wasn't really that flashy in game two. He was really impressive in that Ziggs. And in fact, we have Team Luke for the Verizon post-game interview. So let's welcome in Team Luke. Great stuff today. Congratulations on the 2-0 victory. So the typical first question, gotta ask, how does it feel to get the 2-0?
Feels great. I believe we're on a 5-game win streak now. We're definitely ramping up towards playoffs. We're kind of playing more focused, playing more to win. We know what we need to do. We all know our jobs, and we're all just demolishing now.
It's glad to hear that. Is there something that like you guys changed in the middle of the split that kind of drove that? Because obviously you went 1-1 so many times during the course of the split that like I'm curious if there was some change that really kind of clicked in your guys' heads, especially coming towards playoff. Like that kind of change is really amazing to watch. And I'm sure people watching you, supporting you, wanting to be your fan would love to know what it was that you guys were able to accomplish in that time to really turn this around, start taking these 2-0s and start this win streak going into playoffs.
Yeah, so there's definitely, it's not really a mindset shift, but like kind of like a ramping up, because this is my first like real professional season. And like basically what I've heard from my teammates is like, okay, the season's like 4 months long. Like don't go like 1,000% every day and like burn out. Because if you're playing the game like 12 hours a day for 4 months straight, like you're gonna die by the end of the season. So kind of take it slow and make sure that like when you're performing the best, it's like kind of towards the end when it really matters. And so like I know for me personally, I've kind of been like, okay, because I'm new to this, so my teammates are like coaching me through the season, and I'm like, okay, like I'm still gonna like try my best like throughout the season, like in the beginning to like get settled in, but now definitely like I think I've been there for like 2 months or like a little bit over 2 months now, and I'm really settling in, and I'm like starting to like really like hit my stride.
Yeah, I was going to ask a different question, but I want to pivot a bit. I wanted to ask you a bit more about the atmosphere in the Evil Geniuses. I mean, you've already said that you're starting to fit in, but for you personally, have you felt like it has really facilitated a lot of growth in you besides just being able to play professionally?
Yes and no at the same time. It's more sort of the yes perspective, but so back on amateur, I was kind of like the strong side carry. Like people played for me, I carried games, and that's kind of like how I got my name for myself. But now playing around, especially like JoJo, he's really good, but he's really like crazy. So like you have to play around him, and so I've kind of taken more of like a weak side role where like if I'm like going even against like Ziggs versus Callista and just like doing my job, like it's basically gonna like win our team the game eventually, or win the game for our team eventually. So I've kind of been going kind of more towards like a not really a supportive role, but just like doing my job on the weak side to like not get like screwed over. I think it's going really well. I remember probably the worst game was when we played against FlyQuest and I just got dove a bunch. I was playing Ziggs against or was it Ezreal against Callisto? I don't know. It was something against Callisto. And I just got dove like 5,000 times. I'm like, damn, this sucks. But I really taken that like loss and like made it so that like I'm less diveable or like less susceptible to the weak side. So I've definitely been growing in a positive direction. It's just not the direction I might have seen coming into the season.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Sometimes that's just how it is. It's you. Once you get into the professional scene, you kind of realize what you need to do, how you can fit into teams, as well as it helps you grow so you can play so many varied styles and different gameplay and game mindset styles as well. But before I let you go, I'm going to let Dean here ask you anything else, and then we'll let you get back to practicing.
Only question I've got for you is you got shout-outs to anybody inside of Academy, any fans out there, or even amateur, because Proving Ground's coming up. Anything you got to say to any of the folks out there?
Shout out my parents as always. Shout out my teammates. We're definitely doing well now. Looking forward to facing Era on Wildcard. That should be a good matchup. Hopefully, I get to play my old team playing against Era. I've always looked up to Arrow, like back when he was playing on like KT, like way back in the day. So it's kind of a little bit crazy for me that he's playing on my old team in NA Amateur. But I'm looking forward to it.
You know what? That's awesome. Thank you so much, Team Luke, for joining. I hope you have a
Of
wonderful
course.
day. Good luck tomorrow. We'll be seeing you then as well. All right, and with that, the curse, well, it's not really a curse if you've gotten four times the charm, I guess, for Evil Geniuses Academy, as well as, like Team Luke said, it is their 5th victory, their 5th game win in a row that they've been able to get, so they are starting to round out this season pretty well for themselves, Dean.
I've been enjoying watching EG over the course of this. They're one of my favorite teams to watch at every single level, be it LCS, Academy, or even down in Amateur. I think their developmental system has been great, and I think their coaching staff at all the levels do a really good job of making sure their players look and play to the best of their abilities. So I've really enjoyed that. I'm also excited to look at Dignitas Academy as they come through, because you know the growth of these players and their interaction with some of the amateur teams and some of the academy teams come to playoff time. You remember last split how some of those bottom tier teams like Golden Guardians comes to mind did so well. I'm curious what kind of turnaround we can see from Dignitas once they really start to ramp up some of the competitive play.
Yeah, but with that loss, it does seem like they might be destined for the Proving Grounds qualifiers. That's going to do it for the first best of 2. We got the 2-0 for Evil Geniuses. We got more action in store for you. We'll be back with FlyQuest Academy, Immortals Academy, so stick around.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
It's so much more than just a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as Discovery Plus, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.